Hey everybody, Dr. Tom Moorcroft back here with you for this episode of the Healing from Lyme Disease Summit. And today, this is going to be a really special one because I brought on my friend Trina Felber, who is the CEO and founder of Primal Life Organics. And she's been disrupting the beauty industry and taking out toxins from skincare and dental products for longer than I've known her, which has now been almost a decade. It's actually funny as I say this, I'm like almost a decade now. It's amazing. So I want to start off with a little story because one of the things that was so cool is this is how far Trina and I go back. So I'm sitting in my office one day and, and everybody asks you like the question, like, what's going on? Is your product, this new product I saw on Amazon or on this other website, I want to know if I should do it, and I look at it and I'm reading all the instructions or the ingredients and I go, holy shit. This is what I've been looking for. Hold on one second. And literally the first time I read about the Primal Life Organics tooth powder, I ordered it in the moment while I was still seeing the patient. That's how good her stuff is. And then like 3 or 4 months later, I roll into this meeting, a meeting of like-minded health entrepreneurs who are helping each other find a way to get their message of healing and hope out to people. And I meet this girl, Trina Felber, and she's like, oh, Primal Life Organics. I'm like, what? So that was the start of a long friendship. And our bathroom is filled with their products literally since before I knew her. So Trina, thanks for showing up today to share about your amazing products and how really our mouth may be destroying our health.
That's so funny. I love that story. And I remember, that meeting when you came up to me and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to tell you this story. And it's such a great story because you said you've been looking for products and you were reading it and just like, oh my gosh, I can give this to my kids. That was so funny.
Well, it's so great because like everybody's always, I'm always trying to say like, literally, I'm asking you to do what I would do at home. And people are like, do you really eat that way? Yes, I do. Do you really sleep 8 hours a night? Yes, I actually make it a priority. Once in a while, do I miss a little this or a little that? Sure. Do I have a little treat once in a while? Sure. But mostly this is my family and my lifestyle, right? And so whenever I can get toxins out and healthy products in, because, we've talked to other people in the summit about the importance of oral health and P. gingivalis, even in prevention of Alzheimer's and all this other stuff. But I'm like, literally, like, I will not ask my patients to do anything I wouldn't do myself. And literally, this stuff is so good. I literally said, do you mind if I order it right now? Thankfully, Amazon and Primal Life Organics made it really easy for me at the time. And people know I don't order everything on Amazon because of the heat things. But when you're looking at the tooth powder, it's just so perfect, man. So anyway, yeah, it was really funny. And then to run into you and then like know that we're like-minded folks, it's just amazing. So
it's karma. Anyway. It was meant to be. And here we are, a decade later.
I know. It's crazy. And like, I'm thinking about it. It's like, I think it's 8 years if my math in my head is right, which is pretty damn close, which is amazing because, and one of the things that's so interesting about the work you're doing is it not only does it work and remove poisons we're not actually poisoning ourselves. I feel like I'm in an Austin Powers movie. Let me introduce myself, please allow myself to introduce myself. I'm like, anyway, you've been an Inc. 5000s list for, almost as long as we've known each other. You've been on Oz and Paleo Magazine and all these other major outlets. Like, so what's the scoop? Because you're a nurse anesthetist, right?
Right. I put people to sleep, or that's what I used to do anyway. That was a good.
What the hell got you into this stuff? Like, what really got you? Like, how does a nurse anesthetist get in the Primal Life Organics?
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you the story about the mouth. How did I get into oral care? Because that's what we're here to talk about. How I got into the whole business is another story. But as far as the dental care goes, my daughter at the age of 2 had a molar come in, and we were brushing her teeth, and my husband says, "Hey, come look at this. This doesn't look good." And it looked like a defect. Something was wrong with the molar. So we took her to the dentist, and the dentist looked at the tooth and he said, that's a natural cavity. It's a natural defect. It happened in utero. I didn't even know that was a thing, but it is a thing. And so he said, it's a pretty good natural cavity. We'll put a temporary filling in it because she's 2. We don't want to put her through the trauma of a real filling. So we'll put a temporary filling in it. It'll last 2 to 3 months. Every time the filling falls out, we'll decide, is it now time to pull the tooth, or do we put another temporary filling in it? And he said, most likely I'm going to have to pull that tooth within a year. And I know that every tooth is linked to an organ through the meridian channel, which is the pathway. It's kind of like the acupressure meridian channel. So during development in utero, as a tooth is being created, it's an organ is being created at the same time. And this connection between the two. And as soon as it's severed, it's severed. So when I was leaving the dentist office, he says, don't worry, Mom, we put a temporary filling in it. Now we just hope for the best. And I thought, there is no way this mom is hoping for the best. So that's all he had to say. And I went home and I just started doing some research. I came across Dr. Weston A. Price, who was a dentist in the early 1900s. He discovered the link between sugar and cavities, went to the ADA and said, I think we need to talk about this so people know. And they said, shh, be quiet. We don't want people to know that sugar causes cavities. Then you won't have a job. So they kind of shushed him and like slid away all his research into the back filing cabinet. And, I discovered what he discovered, which was really the blueprint for having a healthy mouth. And then I just started creating what is now our mouth tooth powder. That's what you found. And I created it based on what he discovered would keep the mouth healthy. And I didn't know it at the time, but I really wanted to get that tooth 1 year and 1 day. And the tooth fell out naturally at the age of 12. And that original filling that was supposed to last 2 months lasted 10 years. It was still in place. And the tooth had actually remineralized over that filling to hold it in place. And so bacteria couldn't get in it. So that's of the tooth.
Well, there you go. Talk about a passion project. And I mean, and you got to do the research yourself a lot of times. And the beauty is now, like, I was focused on other stuff. I didn't have the time to do the research. So I'm so glad you did. And it was funny, like I knew all about Weston Price and the eating and all that stuff and all the food stuff, but clearly what you're talking about truly was buried. And a lot of folks, I think, in our community can relate to that, because a lot of the information that's out there about Lyme disease and these other, microorganisms is kind of buried, and just kind of pushed to the side, as are the patients and the doctors. So I'm so glad that as a mother, you were like, yeah, like F you, buddy, and brought it back around. Right.
I'll figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. So what then, so you basically were able to save your kid's tooth, get her back on track, figure out how to do remineralization, which is like so unusual in the dental world that I can't even pronounce it properly today. Where did you go from there? Like, what did you learn about the oral microbiome? And because this is kind of like, obviously most of my patients have teeth that they want to care for, especially a lot of our kids and our parents are concerned. So, getting a good dental product is great, but what's more, but you sounds like you kind of dove down this path of the microbiome and found that that rabbit hole might have even been deeper than the previous one.
Yeah. The problem with the products we're being sold on the market is that they're not going to actually protect your teeth and support a healthy microbiome. Most of the products, and I mean, I'm talking natural products too. I'm not just talking the ones that we can all guess are polluted and toxic, but I'm talking even natural products. Most of the products on the market aren't formulated correctly. They might clean your teeth, but to be honest with you, as you know, the body self-regulates, it auto-regulates, it self-cleans, it self-detoxes. Unless you congest it with so much crap and change your pH and change the microbiome, then your body is stuck. It can't do anything. It can't do what it's supposed to do. That's what the products are doing. They're destroying the good bacteria along with the bad bacteria inside the market or in the mouth. Most of the ingredients are acidic, and just like cancer, I always like to compare it to cancer. Cancer inside the body creates its own environment. It releases acids so that cancer can spread and grow and support itself. If you eat and support yourself with an alkaline diet, you can, ultimately you have to do other things as well, but you can ultimately stop the spread of cancer and even heal yourself from cancer, because cancer cells can't live in an alkaline environment. Same thing inside the mouth. The bad bacteria is supported by an acidic environment, and the good bacteria that prevents cavities, prevents gum disease, helps with remineralization, helps starve off all the inflammatory diseases inside the body, is an alkaline. It lives in an alkaline environment and will actually kill the bacteria that causes all the problems. But when you're with something that's acidic, supporting the bad bacteria, killing off the good bacteria, and then you're eating sugar and processed foods, and even when you're following like a healthy paleo diet or some sort of healthy diet, most of the foods and the drinks that we drink, coffee, tea, red meat, are still acidic by nature. So you can still have that acid inside the mouth. Limiting the sugar is a key as well, preventing that bacterial feeding off the sugars, but you're still going to get natural sugars inside the mouth from fruits and, some vegetables and things like that. But the problem becomes the fact when you're brushing and doing your oral care with products that are basically sterilizing your mouth. And I'm sure you guys have had someone on that has talked about gut dysbiosis or SIBO, right?
Right.
For sure. Something. Yeah. Same thing happens inside the mouth. And, I always say leaky gut syndrome starts inside the mouth with leaky gum syndrome. And when you get that leakiness or the ability for pathogens, whether that be virus, bacteria, fungus, or toxins, to enter the body through the gum tissue, the problem then becomes the fact that your blood supply to your gum tissue doesn't go to your liver, doesn't go directly to your organ to detox. That blood supply travels throughout the body. So think, to the brain, to the heart, to the lungs, to the reproductive organs, to the thyroid. This is one of the reasons that your mouth is directly linked to the pathogens and the health of your mouth.
Well, I think, Trina, the points you're bringing up are like incredible. And I think a lot of people will know, hey, they've gone to the dentist and they're like, hey, like they'll have the conversation about prophylactic antibiotics before teeth cleaning, because they're going to go in and zip around and open up all that bleeding in your mouth. And they know it goes directly to a couple of organs, and they don't usually talk to you about your brain, which is unfortunate. And we talked with Heather Sanderson a lot about that. And actually several other people, much to my pleasure, brought that up because it's so important, but it goes directly to your heart. I mean, people, if you have valvular disease, a lot of valve replacement, a lot of other heart conditions, they're automatically putting you on antibiotics because it is such a direct path. And just think, what about all the other people? So we know that, like, if it's a big, bad, obvious thing, you have this weird valve and you're going to get a vegetation on it and you could die. Like, yeah, everybody picks that one up. But what about all the people that were just seeding their body with infections that I think, like you were saying, don't go through the main organs immediately that should process it? So I think it's a critical piece. And I'm so glad that we have so many people highlighting it from so many different areas. And, I agree. It's like, it's crazy. And one of the things I think is so, and maybe you've experienced this, is a lot of people think they're doing the right thing. And yeah. And I would use myself as the case example. When I was young, my brothers could eat any of the crap they wanted. I didn't even know if they brushed their teeth, and they had no cavities. And like, for me, I was like brushing exactly like my parents mandated, because I was the oldest boy. So I was sort of the whipping post. And, cavities left and right. I mean, is it the acidity? Is it the toxins in the toothpaste? I mean, what's really the driver here?
Well, it's a little bit of both. And, your brothers might have saved themselves, because if you were brushing with the wrong thing, they might have actually been, your body, your saliva is supposed to neutralize the acids. It's not, your saliva's pH is pretty normal. It's neutral. It's not really alkaline. So in today's world, in our processed food world of high sugar content, our saliva is ineffective. It's completely ineffective at doing its job. It's really the body secretion that is supposed to be protecting you 24/7 when you're not brushing your teeth. But, if you're brushing with something that's destroying all the good bacteria and creating more acid inside your mouth, you might have been creating your own cavity. Like what I tell people is, depending on what you're buying to brush your teeth, you are probably buying your own cavities and gum disease. And when we're talking about the link to internal health, I don't know if you've had anybody on that's talked about nitric oxide, but nitric oxide production is directly dependent on having the right bacteria in the gut, having healthy bacteria in the mouth, and your saliva. Without those three components, you will not be producing the amount of nitric oxide production that you need to keep your body healthy. And nitric oxide production is what is going to be directly linked to heart health. I mean, it's the vasodilator. It's what we, as the medical profession, give someone who is having a heart attack, which means they're getting less blood supply to the heart muscle. To help save that muscle, we give them nitroglycerin to vasodilate. So nitric oxide is extremely important for immune support, for fertility, and all of the inflammatory processes, sleep, all those types of things. And if you don't have a good bacteria inside your mouth, or your gut bacteria isn't healthy, your nitric oxide production just went to the tank.
Well, it's interesting that you bring it up, because I know there's a lot of supplements out there, and everybody's like, eat your beets and all this. And yeah, it's like, but it's the whole process. And even with the recent pandemic and everything, we know that, one of the primary inflammatory pathways of COVID is, turned off essentially by nitric oxide. And then we have a lot of people with Raynaud's and stuff with their nitric oxide. So we've had some experts on talking about breathing, and I'm doing some breathing workshops for people to help optimize it. But here you are, guys, we could be doing all the right things with our breathing, with our food, but then, we forgot the main point, like the entry point. And the other part too, Trina, I think that really is interesting to me is when you start to put less toxins in your mouth and it starts to function more optimally, it allows you to develop your airway better, which then also opens up your sinuses, which improves nitric oxide even further. And it decreases your risk of autoimmune encephalitis from things like strep and from mold toxins that are colonizing your nose. So, I mean, and we're just talking about what we put in our mouth, like to brush. It's crazy. So what are the things, if people are looking at, I mean, are there particular specific ingredients in any of these that are just like really bad things that people are like, holy crap, I can go double check on my toothpaste here? Or is it just like, they're all just acidic?
Well, it's easier for me to tell you what to look for, because if you really want to,
there's so much bad crap out there.
So much bad crap. It's easier to tell me there's three things, and I'll make it super easy for you. There's three things you want your dental products to do. You want them to alkalize your mouth. And the best way to know whether your products you're using are alkaline is if it has baking soda in it. That will wipe out probably 98% of the products on the market. They're not going to have baking soda. So if you don't see baking soda, you know that most likely your product is going to be acidic. It's going to be killing your good bacteria, supporting the bad bacteria. And not to mention that when your mouth is acidic, so when you're eating acidic foods, or the bacteria that's in there is creating that acid environment, that's when minerals leave your teeth. So if you're someone who suffers from sensitive teeth, that is a sign that you're losing more minerals than you're replacing. And the only way to replace minerals in your teeth is from the inside of the mouth, not from taking a supplement. So you can't take a supplement to increase the minerals in your teeth, if that makes sense. The indirect way to do that is through your saliva. Your saliva technically has, or is supposed to have, minerals in them, and the calcium, the phos, magnesium. And those three minerals are the key minerals to remineralizing your teeth. But because our diet, most people's diets, the soil is so depleted, and with all the digestive disorders out there, we're taking our supplements and we're eating healthy food, but we're not absorbing everything. Many times your saliva is lacking in the minerals. So making sure that it's alkaline, meaning I always say, look for baking soda. It's a food ingredient and it does the job. The second thing you want to look for is something that's going to have minerals in it. If you're brushing your teeth and it's alkaline and you have minerals in your dental product, you will be putting the minerals back in your teeth every time you brush your teeth, which is the key component to strong enamel and cavity resistant teeth. This is also the way to heal a cavity or heal a sensitive tooth. The best way to know if there's minerals in your teeth, hydroxyapatite is a new ingredient in the dental world. It's actually what I would say it really should be the new fluoride. It replaces fluoride. It is actually the component of enamel. It's calcium and phosphate. And but it's not, in my opinion, it's not all inclusive. So you'll find a toothpaste or a dental product that has hydroxyapatite, has to be nano, has to be tiny. Nano of hydroxyapatite is small enough to get back into the enamel. If it's not a nano form or a nano sized, then it's going to be too big. You're going to be spitting it back out in the sink. So it's not going to do any good. So you want to make sure it's a nano sized hydroxyapatite, but that's not all inclusive because your teeth have more than calcium and phos. And what I just read recently, I was really intrigued. Magnesium, the magnesium ion plays a key role in the hardening of the hydroxyapatite or the enamel. So you can put all the hydroxyapatite or the calcium and phos back in the teeth, but it still may not harden from what I'm reading and the magnesium is the key. So I always suggest making sure that there's clay. Bentonite, kaolin, and French green are the 3 clays that I put in our dental products along with hydroxyapatite. That's a powerhouse. Clay has plenty of calcium and phos in it, but it also has silica and manganese and magnesium ions, and it has to be the ion form. And that magnesium is going to help harden the enamel, make it cavity resistant. So those are the 2 key ingredients. The third thing you want your dental products to do. So you want it to be alkaline, you want it to have the minerals in it to remineralize the teeth. But the third thing is you want it to detox the tissues. Your mouth is dirty. Is that a shock? It's a dirty place. I mean, it's exposed to everything. It's really gross when I say this. And when you think about it, you're like, oh, that is kind of really gross. Every single thing that goes in your mouth, unless you spit, you swallow it. Every single thing. And you're breathing in the air, pollution, everything that goes inside your mouth. And as you were talking, about sinuses, you have to remember that your mouth is connected. It's an airspace. It's an airspace between your mouth, your nose, and your sinuses, and then also your lungs, because obviously when you're in, that is all going into your lungs. Many people that suffer from frequent colds and frequent sinus infections, it's all related to the bacteria inside the mouth, because you can't have a really, bad microbiome inside the mouth and have healthy sinuses and healthy lung tissue. That's technically impossible. So it's all related, all that airspace. If you're brushing with something that has clay in it, clay and charcoal are a good mix. That is going to pull toxins, including heavy metals, out of the tissues of the mouth, the tongue, the soft palate, the hard palate, all the oral tissues. The cleaner that those tissues can be, then think about all that blood, the blood supply to the oral, airway, the gum tissue and everything. It's going to be cleaner. And then that blood that's going all over the body isn't going to be polluted and just kind of sending toxins everywhere in the body, for the body then to try and figure out, what do we do with this? What is going to cause the problem? Where is that going to land for you? So those are the 3 things to look for.
So it needs to be alkaline, has to have minerals, and it has to be able to detoxify. And what's so cool, Trina, is as you're talking about this, I'm like, wait a second. I am realizing that for at least, maybe something like roughly 8 or 9 years, haven't had sensitive teeth. And it was just like, it's funny how until somebody says something, but ask my wife, I was going all natural at the time, with the most natural toothpaste, which now sounds, what I know now was also just better, but still wasn't poison, but it was still acidic, and didn't have all the remineralizing. But I actually at one point went to one of the probably preeminent sensitive teeth ones, because no matter what, hot or cold, I was dying. And I just was like, look, I know it doesn't go with my healthy lifestyle, but it was so painful. And then I just got so excited. I completely forgot about those other things. And now I just, as we're talking, realize I don't have the sensitive teeth. But what's really cool is as you start to talk more about the nasopharynx, the nose and the throat and the mouth, one of the things a lot of us talk about is, kids with pandas, which is kind of like our preeminent infection triggered autoimmune encephalitis, like our poster child. It's not about 1 or 2 exposures to strep. It's recurrent strep. So what do we all go? We go directly to tonsillectomy and adenoidectomy. We might even do cryotherapy first. Why not just change from an acidic tooth product to something that's going to heal the mouth and the teeth all at the same time? So as you're talking, I'm like, wow, because a lot of us are talking about guard the gate, right? Everybody's shooting herbs in their mouth. They're doing all these things. And I'm like, that's what a great idea. But why don't you just step back a little bit further? Because it's so funny. I literally feel like there's a moment in every interview for this summit. I go, even though I didn't tell you what the through line of the summit is, everybody hits on it. And really, it's about re-empowering each person to take back control of their own health and ignite their self-healing mechanism so that they're relying on doctors a little and themselves and the amazing, mechanism that is their life within them to heal and to thrive. And so then I'm just like, wow, rather than putting all this junk in, and some of it might be good, why don't we start with just good oral hygiene? And we're also protecting ourselves from, Alzheimer's and dementia down the road. And then this is like, it's so fun when we talk, because the other thing I'm thinking about is, hey, I used to get like a lot of people down this journey, we get our metals checked when our joint pain and our brain fog and our fatigue. Well, the brain fog, the joint pain, the muscle pain, and the fatigue went away, but the brain fog's still there. And we're like, oh, Lyme triggered me to hold on to more metal than usual. Then I get my amalgams out, and then I do all this chelation. But everybody's doing chelation either in a vein with a topical or a suppository, and most of the time orally. And then they're taking all the binders, and then we're taking supplements. That everything goes through the mouth directly to the gut rather than working in the mouth. And I was just thinking, like, how incredible that we could actually start to, because the problem isn't that we had a lot that got mobilized. Most of our specialists know how to help minimize that side effect. But it's like, what about all the micro crap that's still in our mouth that's giving us little pings all the time? So I think I wish I could have that little skull like on my phone where the head explodes that I could just throw up right now. But that was just like 3, you said, here's 3 things that you need to have in your product. And then you blew my mind 3 times in that same sentence. So, I mean.
Well, and it's interesting when you're talking about sensitive teeth, these 2 things go hand in hand. As we get older, bad breath is something that, I assumed it's normal to have bad breath, and it's not. Bad breath is a symptom. It's a sign from your body that there's an imbalance in the bacteria inside your mouth. And when you fix that, you will not wake up with morning breath. You will not have bad breath. The only time you will is when you're dehydrated or you're spending a lot of time talking. Like in these summits, I'll get thirsty, my breath will start to get sour. But on average, I don't use breath mints. I don't buy gum. I don't do anything because I don't need to, because my microbiome is balanced. The other thing is the sensitive teeth. Here's one warning. A lot of dental products, the natural dental products, will put glycerin in their toothpaste. And glycerin puts, I like to say it's like a saran wrap coating around the tooth. It helps prevent that sensitive feeling of the teeth. But what it's really doing is preventing the minerals from getting back in. So you want to make sure that even if you're buying natural and you see it's got baking soda and it's got some clay, or it's, hydroxyapatite is in there, if it says it's got glycerin, you're still not good. It's the glycerin is probably the big red X no for natural products, because everything else can look okay, but if it's got glycerin, it's probably not going to do you any good anyway. So skip that. There's better options.
Yeah. And then now just think about 2 questions. Like, I have a strong opinion about this, but a lot of our herbs are either in glycerin or alcohol extracts. And I've had some people, because on the bottle, it says, hold it in your mouth for like up to a minute because of the whole energetics, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, put that stuff in whatever the water vehicle is and swallow it. I know we need to extract the phytonutrients and chemicals to treat you, but I found a lot of people get like, they'll be like, oh my God, I started this alcohol thing and I've been holding it in my mouth for 2 minutes and now my teeth are turning black. Or even like our antibiotics. I mean, they're changing our oral biome. But with the tinctures and stuff, have you seen that like people who are keeping these things in their mouth longer are causing more decay? Or is it like, is it simple enough that like all the stuff that I give people all the time, they can just swish down quicker and then just brush their teeth regularly? Or would it be something in your experience where we might even have to say, hey, after you dose your herbs that you need for your Lyme, you actually should brush your teeth right away?
It's hard for me to say yes or no, because a lot of internal health affects all of that. But what I would say is if you're brushing with the right products, you're eating a healthy diet, most likely an occasional, if it's not long-term, it's going to be something that's more short-term. You're not going to be affected by it. But if it is going to be something that's long-term, then you'd want to watch it closer, because you could still potentially have problems, occasionally, as good as I am with my oral health and, my good diet, occasionally I'll get one tooth that just wants to have a sensitivity. What I do is I take my tooth powder, I dip my finger in it, and I put that powder directly on that tooth. And I'm telling you, within one day, it's completely gone. So there are things that you can do. I tell people, if you have sensitive teeth, you're not stuck. Here's the thing. You're not stuck with the teeth you have. You're not stuck with the gum tissue you have. It's all you can heal all of that. Most people don't most dentists will tell you can't heal a cavity. Most dentists will tell you, you've got gum recession. There's nothing you can do about it. But that's not right. That's not true. It's epithelial cells. It's like your skin. If you cut your skin, you can heal it. If you break bone, you can heal the bone. Your enamel is the same minerals as a bone. And the difference between healing a bone and healing a cavity is the fact that your bone tissue is not exposed to an acidic environment like your mouth. Your bone tissue is in an alkaline, or not an alkaline, it's a neutral, your pH is 7.35 to 7.45, but it's got the ability to, it's not in an acidic environment where the minerals that need to go into your bone to heal it, the calcium and phos, are available and not hindered because of the acid environment. So your enamel is actually stronger than bone, but it's the acids in our mouth that causes it to be weaker than bone tissue. Yeah. So
it's interesting that you bring that up too. And it just reminded me of something I thought of earlier. Was so many people know that we talk about, like, these infections, they create acidic environments so that it's easier for them to stick around. And we know that healing, whether you have to do full on alkaline diet or just move your body into a more natural, like you said, pH balanced and slightly alkaline state, is so critical. We know that for everywhere. And we just kind of almost forget about it in our mouth, and as a coffee drinker, it's something I have to keep in mind, and it's like, I'm kind of like in the ritual of doing my morning brushing routine after the coffee, because, I know the acidity. But I just think it's so important, because in the community, we're talking so much about body-wide and, and you're even mentioning like that healthy diet, but, part of the healthy diet is like cleaning the stuff we can clean appropriately, and keeping it in that alkaline state. And then the other thing that's really interesting, I know that you do a lot of work with, is we talk a lot about photoactivation and phototherapy. And like, I just got finished someone asked me to do a lecture on Lyme disease and co-infections. And when I talk about Bartonella, could I talk about methylene blue? And I said, sure. And I thought I agreed to an hour lecture, but what I had agreed to is an hour on tick-borne co-infections and an entire hour on methylene blue. So and methylene blue, like half of it was about photoactivation. So, but people have talked about red light therapy and other light frequencies, both in cleaning blood for our blood transfusion supply. There is all this kind of work in different RNA viruses, including the one that everyone's so also familiar with these days, and inactivating it with certain wavelengths of light. And obviously, as I mentioned, methylene blue is one of the things that we're revisiting as an antimicrobial and a mitochondrial support. It's really interesting. Kills things and supports your body at the same time, as opposed to just kills things. It's kind of kind of a very non-Western approach to things, yet it is a dye. But what have you seen with light therapy and in the mouth? Because I mean, I think that is what I feel this whole conversation is like. The summit talks about everything, including people are talking about coffee enemas, but the mouth, and they say it starts in your mouth and that's where they leave it. So where does light therapy come inside the mouth?
I love light therapy inside the mouth. It's like my big, it's my passion. I think everybody should, like I say, light up your smile. I have one here so I can, people can envision, watching this. This is the mouthpiece that I created that has blue light, red light, and then the combination. It's hard to see on the video, but red and blue light. So it's got 32 lights total, 16 red, 16 blue. But light inside the mouth is really incredible because light therapy, light penetrates. So you're not just talking about the surface, you're talking about enamel, and you're talking about gum tissue, and you're talking about all the other tissues. You're talking about the gum tissue between the teeth. You're talking about the pockets of the gum. You might even be talking about the root of the tooth that the light therapy can penetrate to. So what's really cool, red light, I'll take this one light. Red light therapy, I don't know if you guys talked about it on the summit, but as far as skin goes, it's been used for wound care for a while because it stimulates collagen production, which is important for wound healing. It also increases blood flow and reduces inflammation. All of those things, as a nurse, and as a doctor, the faster you can reduce inflammation and the faster that you can increase blood flow, you will speed healing. So with those two things present, the healing takes so much longer, but you reduce the blood flow or increase blood flow, reduce inflammation, healing can happen faster. Inside the mouth, red light therapy does the same thing. It will increase blood flow, which means you're going to not just get nutrients and oxygen to the gum tissue to help heal it faster, but you're also going to be able to get rid of toxins. Because part of the other thing that we don't even think about with blood flow is as it's moving away, it's able to take more toxins away with it and to be eliminated from the body. So it's really important to increase blood flow, especially in the mouth. And then the collagen production is really important because the gum tissue needs to, especially for most people, especially when you get older, if you have any inflammation or receding gums, you want to be able to stimulate the growth of the gum tissue to support the teeth and the bone underneath. But also in the bone tissue, collagen is extremely important for the health of the bone and the root of the tooth. And then reducing inflammation is obviously going to help heal the gum tissue and the rest of the tissues of the mouth. We're not just talking about the gums, but primarily people see problems with the gums more than anything. People with canker sores or any kind of mouth sores, especially anybody that is on medications for cancer or any other types of treatments. If you get mouth sores, the red light therapy is really great for helping to prevent them and help heal them quicker. Blue light. I love blue light. Harvard did a study on blue light inside the mouth. And what they found is that the bacteria that causes the problems, it causes the gum disease and it causes cavities, has a little, I always say it's like a little heme portion to it. But what happens is there's this little portion in the bacteria that when exposed to the right nanometer of light, it explodes. And when that piece explodes, the bacteria survive, it dies. So when I'm doing my light therapy, all I can envision is all this bacteria popping in my mouth. Like it's gross, but yeah, just popping, because that blue light, as soon as blue light hits the wrong bacteria, and good healthy bacteria, the reason that it doesn't affect the healthy bacteria is because that healthy bacteria doesn't have that piece to it. So think about that. It just blows my mind when you're talking about gum disease or pockets, and that's where the bacteria hides. And that's how the bacteria actually gets in. Your mouth is not like Vegas. What happens inside your mouth doesn't stay inside your mouth. And part of the reason you're going to use that's going to be the title of this.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But the bacteria that's hiding in the pockets, if the blue light can penetrate into those pockets, think about how important that is for preventing the damage inside, underneath gum tissue, between the gums and the bone and the root of the tooth, and then also between the teeth. So red and blue light therapy, I've seen, and I've had so many customers that have used it say that their gum recession has stopped and started to heal. Now, it takes a while. It's not like healing a wound on the outside, because you are going to have the exposure to acidic foods and, that type, and the bacteria and things like that. But it does, the first step is stopping what's causing it and growing the good bacteria and then helping heal it. And then the gel that goes with this is also a peroxide-free gel. One of the no-nos, peroxide is really bad for the teeth. It wears down the enamel. It weakens the inside of the tooth. It actually pulls the moisture out of the inside of the tooth. That's how peroxide works to whiten the teeth. But when it pulls the moisture out or the fluid out of the dentin layer, actually can weaken the infrastructure of the tooth. So you're more prone to fractures, more prone to enamel breakdown and things like that. But it also is not good for the bacteria. So the gel that I created is going to have all the same components that the dental products have. It's going to be alkaline. It's going to have the minerals. It has both hydroxyapatite and clay in it. And it's also going to help detox the tissues. So you're really getting a powerhouse treatment, 15 minutes, a couple days a week, is really all you need to keep your mouth healthy. It's not hard.
So one of the things that is so crazy about this is, and I had to pull it up so I knew exactly when it was. Because I'm gonna, one of the things that happens, Trina, is back when we actually used to commute on a regular basis to these things called work, right?
Do you have the picture?
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
So 2018 was when I first started doing it with one of the earlier versions. And it's so interesting because it is a game changer, and then some of our guests have talked about where a lot of people talk about root canal issues and dental cavitations. And the thing I'm thinking of is pre or post any procedure, I want my mouth to be optimally healthy. And I know I've had my wisdom teeth out. I did as a kid. I've had dentist check, and it's not at a place where anybody would want, there's varying opinions, but anything that would even remotely be a symptom that's associated with the mouth is just non-existent when you care for your oral hygiene in this way. And, what's really funny about this is I used to use my commute to do a lot of books, Audible type books and stuff. And as I'm sure this will really surprise you and everyone listening, I listen to everything on 3 or 3.5 speed because that's how my brain works. And I'm driving down the road, sitting at traffic lights with this thing in my mouth as I'm listening to these audiobooks on the way to work. And people are like, what the hell is wrong with this guy with his neon mouth? But it doesn't matter to me because hopefully I'll inspire them to go get their own. But it makes a huge difference, right? And some of the dental work I've had done pre kind of even Lyme disease, and then pre knowing you and all the things that we've learned about oral health, it goes back. And it can be slow, but I'm just thinking about recession of your gum line along the side of, say, a root canal with a post and a cap and the whole, or whatever that, they call those things. It starts to slowly move away. It didn't happen overnight. So of course, yeah, allow it to, like you're saying, slowly grow back. But this is legit. This is the thing. These are so simple. How much easier would it be to 3 or 4 times a week, put this and it's much easier now. You don't have to plug it into your phone, or I jury rigged it to plug into the dashboard. But you can really just go. And not only are you taking care of yourself, when you're a parent and your kids can't follow the rules, is you need to do it. You need to show them. So your bathroom's got to have the clean products. You have to use the light, and then you can get them doing it. And to me, it's I know a lot of kids would rather use the light than even brush their teeth. And I'm not saying they should not brush their teeth. I'm just saying, when we have some of our Pans and Pandas kids, they get a little obstinate because they're sick, not because they're a bad kid. And sometimes we just have kids who are just kind of I don't want to do that. But the other part, and I guess to kind of bring this all together, because I could talk to you forever on this topic. I think more importantly, people should just try it, because I saw it and I freaked out when I looked at the ingredients. Like I said, it was just oh my God. And literally it's just the only thing we use, and it's every once in a while somebody sends me a sample of something to try. And I look at them I don't know. Then maybe I'll try it once or twice just so I could say I gave it the old college try. And I'm but what is the secret? Because this is the other part that I love about, the Primal Life Organics tooth powder is legit. It tastes good. So how do you make something, and you're using some ingredients that some people don't really like and other people like, but if you turn it up too much, it tastes like way over the top. Like, how do you like what are the, I don't even know how to ask the question because it just tastes so good. How do you make something that's so healthy taste so good and not acidic?
Well, I don't know. It's my secret magic superpower, I guess. Because yeah, right. I just do voodoo. I don't know. I really didn't think that I was going to land in this seat. Like I was very, very happy putting people to sleep as a nurse anesthetist. Like I was golden. And then, things just happened in my life, and this just, it really is a superpower. Because my favorite's the bubble gum. Like I could eat that tooth powder. Like it's sweetened with monk fruit. Monk fruit's an antioxidant. It's not a sugar, and it literally tastes like. And it's the hubba bubba. Like we have new kids. I'm talking like when I say kids, I'm talking like 16, 17-year-olds that's never tried like the old Bubblicious bubble gum. They're like,
I
that
know the
doesn't
80s
taste
and
like.
the 90s had a few really good things, even if they're bad for us.
Dye wasn't great, but man, that flavor was awesome. But yeah, no, it tastes like the Bubblicious bubble gum, and I just can't get it. It's like that fruity flavor, but it's essential oils. We just do and it's pepper. It's not hard. It's peppermint essential oil. It's just the right amount. Obviously you don't want too much, but and I know there's controversy. I've seen plenty of dentists and experts say don't use essential oils in the mouth. I'm telling you, I've had great success. We've turned around so many dental issues, and I'm a proponent, as long as you're not overdoing it. Essential oils are, think about this. This is the way I like to explain it to people. The essential oil is the essence of the plant. And when I'm talking about a plant, I'm talking about this little thing that grows in dirt and has to survive in every element that we protect ourselves from. It has to survive from fungus, bacteria, bugs, pollution, rain, acid, everything. So you get to take the essence of that plant and use it for the benefits that we need it for. And so when you're putting essential oils on the teeth and the gums, you're reducing inflammation, you're using all those properties, you're increasing blood flow, you're literally using the life essence of a plant to help support your health. And while too much may not be good, that's why it's an essential oil, and you need to know how to formulate that. It's a very small, less is more when you're talking about something that minute. It's kind of like the wisdom of, all the, the old herbal, less is more, medicines that people take. You don't want to overdo it. You want your body to be able to heal and itself. Your body is always trying to get back to normal. Whatever normal is for you, your body is always trying to get you back to normal. And it struggles when we fight it and we try to make ourselves go back to normal. That's when sometimes you get into problems, because then your body's like, I give up. Now I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get back to normal. You're fighting me. So you just get that little bit and allow your body to heal. And that's really what I have secretly done, with my dental products and all my skincare and everything is, allow your body to go back to normal, because your body will detox, it will cleanse, it will auto cleanse itself every day, including your gut a couple times a day, as long as you're supporting it with what it needs and not an overkill.
Wow. And having been doing this for now like 8 or so years, it's like amazing to see the difference in my own life, my family's life. I can attest to the fact that it tastes great. And I do often recommend people start with bubble gum. I'm kind of a peppermint spearmint, more spearmint type of guy, but I think it's a really, you all have your flavors, and the thing is, it really does work. And there is some voodoo magic in the formulation, which is why I'm so glad there are people like you out there who come up with these crazy ideas to help their family, and then turn yourselves loose on the world and share this, because that way I don't have to formulate my own toothpaste.
Right.
So
I can see you mixing it up every night.
Oh yeah, I would get in the science lab and do it if you hadn't done it for me. So, but it's so important. So, and Trina, I'm so honored to have you as a part of the summit and be able to share all this information with people. I hope we've inspired people. I know we've inspired people because pretty much whenever I talk about, Primal Life Organics in the office, everybody's just like, all right, got to go get this, because I didn't think something that good could actually exist. So, from the bottom of my heart, thanks for joining us and supporting the summit. And so I know we're at Primal Life Organics, but I also know you do a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think I was actually hopped on a live you did a while back from the office at lunch hour. So, where else can people reach out and because you're giving, I think you give way more than you receive. You're one of these people, like every time I turn around, you're sharing, the good word and this natural healing. So where can people find you?
Well, the website's primallifeorganics.com. And then we're on Instagram, Primal Life Org, Facebook, Primal Life Organics. My support team's really good, support at primallifeorganics.com. And, we're here. I'm here to answer questions. I do a lot of education pieces on social media, trying to get the word out there, trying to let people know that you're not stuck with with you have, that, and the gateway, like we talked about, the gateway to all health is inside your mouth. And if your mouth isn't healthy, you're swallowing all that crap, and there's no way your gut's going to be healthy if you're swallowing all that crap. Like, you can take all the probiotics in the world. If you're swallowing crap, it crap in, crap out. Right.
For real. It's interesting because it does, like, we keep talking about our immune system, and 70 or 80% of our immune cells at any one point are living in our gut wall. As I love saying, hey, your gut's actually outside of your body and you're wrapped around it. You've got a hole here and a hole there, and it goes in this direction. So please start to really think about what you're putting in your mouth, because it's so critical for the health of your entire body. It's not just, hey, let's make sure our teeth look nice. This is actually whole body, gut, heart, brain, lymphatic health. Every organ system has to deal with what you're doing in your mouth. And it's not just what you put in and goes to your gut, but what you're putting in your mouth to just really, work in that specific, little box that we call mouth. And it's such a critical area. So again, thanks for sharing about all of this. And everyone, thanks for joining us and spending your precious time during the summit to learn about this. And I hope you've come away with some new inspiration, some really simple things you can do in your mouth. Check out Primal Life Organics, and really excited that you joined us for this episode of the Healing from Lyme Disease Summit, and look forward to seeing you in the next episode.